Hi future cat conquerors, welcome to your favorite cat prep channel Apex Cat Coaching. I'm Suraj Chawla and I'm your quant trainer. So in today's session, we'll be looking at the fourth basic video on ratios, right? And in today's session, we'll be looking at how to combine two or more ratios. So before we proceed, subscribe to our channel, like this video and also share this video amongst your friends. Also follow us on Instagram by typing Apex Vizag so that you get the right information and all the updates about MBA prep from the right people at the right time. So let's get started. So far, we have already uploaded 3 videos on ratios which were covering the 3 basic concepts. One was the basics of ratios, then the second one that we saw was on change in numerator and denominator, and the third one we saw was on types of ratios. So I would advise you that if you have not watched those videos, you can watch those videos by clicking at this link here and then come back to the fourth video and then start learning the concepts effectively, right? So let's look at the first question. The first question says if A is to B is 2 is to 3 and B is to C is 4 is to 5, find the ratio of A is to B is to C. Right now, in this question, if you observe, I am given two different ratios and the question is asking us to combine both the ratios. Now, how do we combine two ratios? अब फंडा सिंपल है यार, B A का दोस्त है, ठीक है, A and B are friends. Similarly, B and C are friends. Now, the story wise, if I want to tell you, then this would be more like A wants to become friends with C. अब A C के साथ दोस्ती कैसे करेगा? Now, the only connecting link is B. So therefore, if I have to merge both of them, there has to be a repeated term, there has to be a common link, that is the repeated term, point number 1. And point number 2, the repeated term should be numerically same. Now, if they are numerically same, then we can always merge two ratios, right? So please remember two simple concepts. 1, the repeated term should be there. 2, the repeated term should be numerically same. Right, so this is a mathematical way. I'll also tell you a shortcut to this. Okay. Now, let's try to understand this. So I have A by B is equal to 2 by 3 and similarly I have B by C is equal to 4 by 5. Now, B is 3 here, B is 4 here. So how do I make them numerically same? To make them numerically same, the only thing that we have to do is we have to take the LCM of the numbers. So what would the LCM of 3 and 4 be? The LCM of 3 and 4 would be equal to 12. Now always remember, if two numbers do not have a common factor, उनका LCM उनका multiplication ही होता है, ठीक है? Now we learned in the first class of ratios that in order not to change the value of the ratio, we need to multiply each term of the ratio with the same number, either multiply or divide, ठीक है? तो अब इस 3 को हमको 12 करना है, so to make this 3 12 हमको 4 से multiply करना है. So if I am multiplying my denominator with 4, my job is to also multiply my numerator with 4. Clear? Similarly, this 4 has to be made 12. So I have to multiply by 3. So if I am multiplying the numerator by 3, I need to ensure that I am multiplying my denominator also by 3. अब क्या हुआ? अब B same हो गया यार. ठीक है? अब जब B same हो गया, how do I write it? Let us write this in a common format. So for every 8 parts of A, ठीक है, B कितना हुआ? B हो गया 12 parts. Similarly, for every 12 parts of B, जो already यहाँ पे है, that is already here, okay. So for every 12 parts of B, C is how much? C is 15 parts. So this becomes the combined form of A is to B is to C. Clear guys? So this is the mathematical process. I repeat two simple steps. The repeated term should be numerically same. And second step, how do you make it numerically same? By taking the LCM of the repeated term. Right? Now, there is a shortcut. Now, before we get into the shortcut, we need to understand the concept of regular ratios. What do I mean by regular ratios? Now, if I am given A by B and this B is repeated, saying B by C. So, this repeated term is repeating in the second ratio also. And let's say if C is further repeating and I say C by D, these all ratios are called regular ratios. So, whenever I am given A by B, B by C, C by D, D by E and so on, so on, so on. These all ratios become regular ratios. So, this is a shortcut to combine two or more regular ratios. Let's look at that shortcut from here. Now, so what am I given? I am given A is to B is to C. So, A is to B is 2 is to 3 and B is to C is 4 is to 5. We have to write on this in this format. ठीक है? अब क्या होता है यार, यहाँ पे एक space खाली है. This is to the right of B, right? So whatever is the value here, replicate that here. So this value also becomes 3. There is a space available to the left of B. Right now, this value is 4. Since there is space available to the left of 4, my job is to write 4. And all I have to do is I have to multiply them. So if I multiply them, what do I get? 2 4s are 8, 3 4s are 12, 3 5s are 15. This becomes a shortcut of combination of 2 or more ratios. Clear? So I repeat, if you have regular ratios, or if you can convert the data given in the form of regular ratios, then we can apply this shortcut and get our required answer. Right? Now let's look at the next question. Now this question says A is to B is 3 is to 4, B is to C is 5 is to 6. Point number 1, are they regular ratios? Yes. I repeat, how do you identify regular ratios? अगर A by B दिया हुआ है और ये B आपका first term है of the second ratio, this B becomes B by C. Similarly, this C becomes C by D. Now these all ratios are regular ratios. So are these regular ratios? Yes. So let's apply the shortcut directly. ठीक है? So how do I apply the shortcut here? Let me rewrite it again. A is to B is to C. So I have 3 is to 4 and I have 5 is to 6. I repeat once again. There is a space empty to the right of 4. So therefore you have to repeat the same number. Let's say I write 4 here. Now there is a space empty to the left of 5. So I have to repeat this number here. So I write a 5 here. And now my job is to multiply all the 3 of them. Okay? So therefore what do I get here? So 15 आ गया, 20 आ गया और 24 आ गया. This becomes the final ratio of A is to B is to C. So you can see how simplifiably you can combine 2 or more ratios by using the regular ratios method. If regular ratios is not given, then what we do is we make the repeated term numerically same and then start solving the questions. Okay? Now let's move to the next one. Now here I am given A is to B is 2 is to 3 and A is to C is 3 is to 5. So I am just changing this question. Find the ratio of A is to B is to C. Clear? Now let's see this question here. Are there regular ratios? First question. Now some people might feel they are not regular ratios because what am I given? I am given A by B and I am given A by C. But remember, if there is a repeated term, we can convert it in the form of regular ratios. Is there a repeated term? Yes, there is a repeated term. What is repeating? A is repeating. ठीक है? तो रेगुलर रेशियोज में कन्वर्ट करने के लिए मैं क्या कर सकता हूं? इसको मैं B by A लिख सकता हूं and I am repeating A here and I am writing this as A by C. So this becomes the format of regular ratios for us. So if you have to slightly tweak it, instead of A by B, we make it as B by A and then I write A by C and then we can assume them as regular ratios and follow the shortcut method, right? So let's understand this here. So let me write this as B is to A is to C. So B is to A is 2 is to 3. Sorry, 3 is to 2. Okay. And A is to C is 3 is to 5. Can I say now this becomes the best format of regular ratios for us? ठीक है? अब हम shortcut apply कर सकते हैं. There's a space empty here, so I write a 2. There's a space empty to the left, I write a 3. And now my job is to just multiply all of them. So 3 3s are 9, 3 2s are 6, 2 5s are 10, and this becomes the simplified form of A is to B is to C. Clear guys? So this is how we merge two ratios, be it directly given or indirectly given. We have also learned how do we convert them into regular ratios and apply our shortcut. Right? Now let's look at if I'm given three ratios, how to merge them. Now before going to that, this question is a very different question where you can remember the shortcut here. Now A is to B, B is to C and C is to D is given. If you observe, the question is just asking you the value of A is to D. I repeat, we apply the concept of regular ratios majorly to calculate A is to B is to C is to D. We'll also learn that, don't worry. But if the question is asking you A is to D, there is also a shortcut for that. Okay, now let's try to apply that here. So remember, if I multiply A by B with B by C and B by C with C by D, can you tell me what do we get here? If you observe, this B gets cancelled, this C gets cancelled, and I directly get the value of A is to D. So if A is to D is asked and I am given three regular ratios, A is to B, B is to C, C is to D. All we can do is just multiply 3 of them to directly get the value of A is to D. So therefore, what do I get from here? So I get 2 by 7 into 3 by 5 into 2 by 1 becomes the value of A is to D, and that becomes my answer. So this gives me 12 divided by 35. So 12 is to 35 is the direct ratio of A is to D. Clear? Now, can I use the regular ratios method here? Yes. Let's try to apply that also here. I am erasing this part off. Now, I am given A is to B is to C is to D. Let me write down the values. So this is 2 is to 7, this is 3 is to 5, and this is 2 is to 1. Okay. Now, the fundas are quite simple. To the right of this, there are 2 spaces empty now. So therefore, I write 7 here and 7 here. Clear? There is 1 space empty to the left of this. So therefore, I write a 3 here. There is 1 space empty to the right of this. Therefore, I write a 5 here. There are 2 spaces empty to the left of this. Therefore, I write a 2 here and a 2 here. Now, the question is directly asking us A is to D, right? So, let's write only A and let's write only D, and we can calculate our answer. So, this becomes 2 into 3 into 2, and D becomes 7 into 5 into 1. I have to just multiply all of them to get the values of A is to B is to C is to D. So 2 into 2 into 3 and 7 into 5 into 1 doesn't have anything common. So this becomes 12 is to 35 is the combined form of A is to D. So if I'm given more than 2 ratios, I apply the same logic, extend it to third ratio and get our required answer. Right? Let's look at one more question here. Now, I'm given A is to B, I'm given B is to C, I'm given C is to D. The first question we have to ask, are these regular ratios? Yes, they are regular ratios. Right? So, is this a question similar to the previous question? Just one second, guys. Yes, this is a question similar to the previous question that we have already done here, right? So I need not repeat that. So if they are regular ratios, we can just apply the same logic and get our answer. Now the only difference is, in this question, the question is asking you A is to B is to C is to D. So if you want to extend, we can extend that here, and we write 7 into 3 into 2 is the value of B. 7 into 5 into 2 is the value of C, and 7 into 5 into 1 is the value of D. So this becomes how much? 12, this becomes 42, this becomes 70, and this becomes 35, and that becomes the ratio of A is to B is to C is to D. Right? So I'm skipping this part here. Let's move to the next question. Now I'm given A is to B is 3 is to 7, sorry 7 is to 3. Similarly, I am given B is to C is 3 is to 5 and C is to D is 15 is to 17. Again, the same question, are these regular ratios? Yes, they are regular ratios. So therefore, I can merge them directly. So let's write it here. So this is 7 is to 3. Now we can directly apply it here only. There are 2 spaces empty. So let's repeat 3 and 3. Clear? Now this is 3 is to 5. There is 1 space empty. I will write a 5 here. There is 1 space empty to the left. I will write a 3 here. And now this is 15 is to 17. So therefore, there are 2 spaces empty here. I write 15 here. I write 15 here. Now I want the value of A is to B is to C is to D. Right? Now, if I'm multiplying all of them, now understand this whole part becomes 1. That is 7 into 3 into 15 is the value of A. 3 into 3 into 15 is the value of B. Right? 3 into 5 into 15 is the value of C, and 3 into 5 into 17 is the value of D. Now, we learned in the first class that the ratio must be expressed in the most simplified form. Now, please check, is there something common among all the numbers? Right? I can see a 3 here, a 3 here, a 3 here, and a 3 here. So, I can cancel the 3 first. 3, 3, 3, 3 gets cancelled. Is there any other common factor? I can see a 5 which is the common factor. There's a 5 here, there's a 5 here, there's this 5 3s are 15, and there's also this 5 3s are 15. Anything else which is common? I don't think so there's anything else that is common. So we can write it here. This has 21, this has 9, this has 15, this has 17. So this becomes the final ratio of A is to B is to C is to D. Clear? Right, guys? So this is how we learn how to combine 2 or more ratios. Now in the next few slides, we'll be looking at how do we apply them into word problems. Okay. Now, what is given to us? I am given that A has twice the amount with B. Now, remember here, whenever I write these kind of equations, A is equal to 2B or 2A is equal to 3B and so on, so on, so on. The best way to do is, there will always be a ratio that will be an outcome of this. So, from here, I can write A divided by B is equal to, the coefficient of B is 2, so this will be cross multiplied, 2 will come here. The coefficient of A is 1, so I cross multiply, the value of 1 will come in the bottom. Clear? Now, B has 7 times the amount with C. So, let me write this as B is equal to 7C. So, again the same funda, I can write B by C. The coefficient is 7 here, will cross multiply, this becomes 7. The coefficient is 1 here, will cross multiply, this becomes 1. Clear? So, what do I have here? I have A is to B, I have B is to C, which means we have regular ratios. So, if we have two regular ratios, we can merge and calculate the ratio of A is to B is to C. Now, let us see what is the question giving us. The question has asked us that if they had a total of rupees 8,800, find their individual shares. That means I have the total. If I get the ratio, I can calculate the individual shares. So, let us merge them. So, what do we have here? We have A is to B is to C. Now, this is 2 is to 1. This is 7 is to 1. Clear? There is a space empty to the right of this. So, therefore, I write 1 here. There is a space empty to the left of this. So, therefore, I write a 7 here. And now, my job is to multiply. When I multiply, what do I get? This is 14 is to 7 is to 1. So, what do we have? We have the ratio of A is to B is to C. What is given in the question? I am given the total value. Now, you tell me, if total is given and the ratio is given, which is the best method to apply? The best method to apply would be fraction method. Remember, if ratios is given and total is given, the best method is the fraction method. If ratios is given and total is not given, then the best method is ratios to actual value method. Two simple methods. Clear? So, I am given the total. So, let me apply the fraction method. To apply the fraction method, we have to add them. This will give me 22. So, what is the value of A? The share of A becomes 14 becomes my numerator. 22 becomes my denominator into 8,800. So, this is 22 400s are. So, therefore, the value of A becomes 5,600. Now, we also discussed in the first basic video that this 8800 by 22 will be common amongst all of them. Right? If you observe, the share of B becomes 7 becomes my numerator divided by 22 into 8,800. So, if you observe, this 8,800 by 22 is common in all the ratios. So, let us not waste our time to write them. The multiplying factor is 400. So, we can directly multiply. This is also 400. So, 7 into 400 is 2,800. So, pick up this and multiply with the multiplying factor. Similarly, I will pick up 1. The value of C becomes 1 into 400, which becomes 400. Clear? So, this becomes the share of A is to B is to C, and that amounts to a total of 8,800, and therefore, we are correct with our answer. So, this is how we apply the combination of ratios in word problems. Right? Now, let us look at the next question. Now, Raghu in his will divides 43 lakhs amongst his 5 sons, 4 daughters and 2 nephews. Okay? Now, each daughter receives 4 times that of each nephew. Okay? So, remember, learn how to directly form the ratios. Each daughter, right, receives 4 times the nephew. So, from here, we can write D by N. The coefficient of N is 4. So, this becomes 4. The coefficient of D is 1. This becomes 1. So, D by N becomes 4 by 1, where I repeat, D is daughter, N is nephew. Similarly, each son receives 5 times the value of each nephew. So, each son is equal to 5 times the nephew. That means, son by nephew will be equal to 5:1. Now, a bit of common sense. What is the repeated term here? The repeated term is nephew, and the best part is repeated term is numerically same. That is 1 and 1 here. So, whenever the repeated term is numerically same, I need not do anything else. I can directly merge the ratios. So, therefore, we can write this as daughter is to nephew is to son. So, for 4 parts of daughter, nephew is 1 part. For 1 part of nephew, the son is how many parts? 5 parts. Now this is the share of each one of them. Okay. But was there one daughter, one nephew and one son? No. The question has told us there were 4 daughters, 5 sons and 2 nephews. So let me write it here. So the number of daughters is 4, number of sons is 5, number of nephews is 2. Since total is not given, let's go back to the ratios to actual method. So let me write each daughter gets 4x, each nephew gets x and each son gets 5x. So 4 daughters will get a total of 16x, 2 nephews, we have to multiply this, 2 nephews will get a total of 2x and 5 sons will get a total of 25x. I repeat, each son 5x into 5 becomes 5 sons, each daughter 4x into 4 becomes 4 daughters and so on and so on and so on. And now I am told this total money is equal to how much? 43 lakhs. So let's add them. So this plus this is equal to 43. So 25 plus 16 is 41, 41 plus 2 is 43. That means we have 43x is equal to 43 or the value of x is equal to 1. So we got the value of x finally. Now what is the question asking us? The question is asking us to find out how much does each son receive. I repeat, each son receives 5x. So therefore, if x is equal to 1, each son receives 5 lakhs becomes our answer. Clear? Had the question asked you find the amount that all the sons received, then all the sons have received 25x and therefore my answer in that case would have been 25x. Clear? So that's what we have to keep in mind. So we have to read the question statement carefully before we answer our questions. Right? Now let's move to the next question here. Now I'm given 4 boys A, B, C, D divide chocolates amongst themselves such that the number of chocolates with A and B is in the ratio of 1:3, B and C 2:5, C and D 2:3. So I have A is to B, I have B is to C, I have C is to D, which means I have regular ratios. If I have regular ratios, we can apply the shortcut and merge them. Clear? And what else is given to us? If the difference between the number of chocolates between A and C is 3510, find the number of chocolates with D. Very simple question. All we have to do is merge the ratios, right? So let's try to understand this first here. A is to B is to C is to D. So what do we have? We have 1 is to 3, 2 is to 5, 2 is to 3. So the 2 space is empty to the right of this, so I write 2 3s. 1 space empty to the right, 5, 1 space empty to the left, 2. 2 spaces empty to the left, 2 and 2 each. Clear? Now when I multiply this, this becomes 4, this becomes 12, this becomes 30 and this becomes 45. So I have the ratio of A is to B is to C and the question has not given us the total, the question is talking about something else. So what is the best method, guys? The best method is ratios to actual value. Okay? Remember, whenever ratio is given and total is not given, the best method is ratios to actual value. So let me write this as 4x, 12x, 30x and 45x. Now the question says the difference between A and C is 3510. That means 30x minus 4x is equal to 3510. So what do we get from here? We get 26x is equal to 3510 or the value of x is equal to 3510 divided by 26. So let's simplify. This is 21755 and 2 13s. 13 ones are 13. We have a 45. 13 threes are 39. We have a 65. 13 fives are 65. So therefore x is equal to 135. Now what is the question asking us? The question is asking us find the number of chocolates with D and the number of chocolates with D was 45. So we can write this as D has 45 into 135 which can also be written as 50 minus 5 into 135. So what is 135 into 5? So that's going to be 5 5s are 25, 5 I carry 2, 15 plus 2 is 17, 7 I carry 1 and this becomes 6750 minus 675. So that will give me 6075 is the number of chocolates with D as per the given question. Clear guys? So this is how we apply combining two or more ratios in word problems. Let's look at the next question. Now, one last question before we proceed to the next model. Now here I am told that A's salary is 7/6 of B's salary. Same funda as we saw in the previous question. If A is equal to 7/6 of B, I can write this as A by B is equal to 7/6. Clear? Similarly, B's salary is 6/5 of C. So I can write B by C is equal to 6/5. Now what is the repeated term? The repeated term is B and the repeated term is numerically same. So that means the question has become easy for us. So what can I write here? I can write A is to B is to C as 7 is to 6 is to 5. Now the total is not given to us. Okay. When the total is not given to us, the best method is going to be ratios to actual value method. So therefore let us write this as 7x, 6x and 5x. Now the question says D's salary is the sum of all of them. So what is the salary of D? 7 plus 6 is 13, 13 plus 5 is 18. So the value of D is going to be 18x. Okay. Now the question says if C's salary is equal to 30,000, find the value of D. That's a very easy question. That means if 5x is equal to 30,000, we get the value of x is equal to 30,000 divided by 5. Which will be nothing but 6,000. Now if x is equal to 6,000, the question is asking us the value of D. So therefore the value of D would be nothing but 18x, that is 18 into 6,000, and which will give you 108,000 becomes your final answer. Clear? So 1,08,000 becomes the value of D as per the given question. Right? So let's look at the last model here in this question, in this video. Okay, now this is a very important model. Remember this. I am told that a total amount of 22,500 is divided amongst A, B and C such that A received half of the amount with B and C. Now let me write this as others. Now remember guys, can I rewrite this as A by others is equal to 1:2? Now understand this. I have A, I have B, I have C. Let me assume or let me know that B and C come in others category. So if this ratio is 1:2, I am writing A is equal to X and others is equal to 2x. Clear? That means the total now becomes 3x. I am just explaining you the funda of this, okay. So the total becomes 3x, which means, can I say that the ratio is 1:2. So therefore, A's share becomes 1 divided by 1 plus 2 of total. And this others share is something that I don't need to calculate. So from here, I can directly say that if A is to others is 1:2, I can directly say that if A is equal to 1 and others is equal to 2, so total part is equal to 3. So this becomes 1/3 of total. Clear with this point here guys? So always remember, whenever we are given these kind of ratios, if A is equal to 1/2 of others, I can rewrite this as A is equal to, keep the numerator as it is, add the numerator to the denominator, and instead of others we can write total. And what is total here? Total is 22,500. So this becomes 3 into 7,500. So therefore this becomes 7,500. Now let's calculate the value of B. I am told that B is equal to 1/4 of others. Let's apply the same logic here. Whenever others is given, we can apply B is equal to 1 divided by 1 plus 4 of 22,500. So this is 5 into 4500. So remember this, keep the numerator as it is add the numerator to the denominator, and instead of others we can write total. Remember this model, it's a very important model. Okay. Now, I want the value of, so I find the sum of the amounts with A and B. So therefore, what are the sum of the amounts with A and B? So all I want is A plus B, which will be equal to 12,000. Now please remember, from here we can also calculate the value of C, because A plus B is 12,000, total is 22,500. So we can also say that the value of C is equal to 10,500 from here. Clear, guys? So that's it from this one more, learning of basics of ratios. I repeat, in this video we saw how to combine two or more ratios, and also we saw how to apply them in word problems. Right? So before we leave, I would again like you to remind that subscribe to our channel, like our video, share this video amongst your friends who are preparing for CAT, and do not forget to give the feedback of this session in the comments given below. If you need any more topics for your revision of basics, you can type in the comments. We will definitely get back to you with your topic of your choice, so that you can make the most in your CAT journey. Till then, all the best guys. Thank you and take care.